Hello everyone, I'm DonTheCrown, and if you are returning or new to Torchlight Infinite, you might be wondering how the heck do I gear up my character as I'm going through the end game. And this video is for you, because I think that there are a lot of ways that you can very easily make some major mistakes while gearing up, and there's a lot of ways to make your life a lot easier. So as you're going through the campaign, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of gear, like legendaries and stuff, but it's like, when do I actually start replacing these? When should I start bother to craft? And there's really a couple of different tiers of gearing kind of in the early game of Torchlight. And so we look at the time marks here. We go and we see time mark 1, time mark 2, time mark 3, time mark 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. We can see that the stage level is changing each time. And especially the lower levels, there's a range to these. So these levels sometimes might feel a little bit harder or easier depending on the stage level. But once you get to time mark 4, this is kind of special, because this is the last tier where you're going to be using gear crafting that is kind of cheaper. So from stage 72 to 75, you're still using the cheapest Ember gear. So this is a level 73 item dropped in a zone that had level 73. If I click craft here, I can see that this is fine embers. And these are kind of like the super duper dirt cheap. And there's a lot of different ways to get these from Path of Progression and from the Supreme Showdown stuff that just makes this a lot cheaper to craft with. And the highest we're going to be able to go here is tier 4. Now, if we click on this eye here, I can see what the tiers of all the different mods are. So this lets me scout out what the gear levels are that I need to find. So anything from 68 to 75 here is going to use tier 4, which means that we're going to be using those fine embers. If I go to 76 or above, we're going to start using the next tier. So this is 77. And this is now tier 3, and now we're using precious embers. And let me tell you, this season especially, these are truly precious. These are very hard to find. I'm struggling myself with these. And I have 31 of them right now. And right now these are about 10 for 2 FE. And so, in the end game, that's like a single tap is 2 additional FE, which is pretty wild in terms of pricing. And so you want to go and you want to make sure that you get some gear at this particular stage, the tier 4, like things probably that aren't your weapons. You might want to craft tier 4, and then I would recommend getting yourself tier 2 weapons. But there's even an easier way to go about and get yourself nice tier 2 weapons. And I was talking about this on my Discord, so I wanted to kind of show it off to you guys. What you're going to do is you're going to open up the auction house, and you are going to click on the advanced tab over here. We're going to click other to expand, then a weapon to expand, and we can click any weapon that we want. I'm going to go with dagger for this one. I already set up the whole thing on sword. And so what I'm going to do here is go to item level. We're looking for something 82 to 85. And so this is going to give me bases that are going to get tier 2 mods, but not tier 1s. The reason we don't want to go to tier 1 is because when you craft on a tier 1 piece, each tap costs you flame elementium, so it's much more expensive as opposed to costing you just flame sand. So if I'm on this, for example, this or flame sand, this is even tier 2. You can see my gear is kind of falling behind a little bit in some spots. So we go 82 to 85, and then at the bottom down here is this thing called add conditional group. You want to click this down here. It's going to let you put a kind of like an if statement. We are going to look for if it has any of these modifiers. These are basic sequences. Now, these are what I recommend for my build. However, if you just type SEQ up here, you can see all of the sequences. You can just go through them and find the ones that look good for you. And I would only recommend doing ones that are basic sequences, as intermediate doesn't really help you. So you can even type basic SEQ, and it's just going to just show you these, right? So we click all of these, and I need to set this to be minimum 1. So there's at least one of them. Otherwise, this will be minimum 0. And I can click this little plus bar over here, and it'll add a second conditional group. And in here, what I recommend putting is all of the advanced modifiers that you want on your gear. Well, how do I know what the advanced modifiers are that you want? Well, you can just go grab any piece of gear of the same type, hit the anvil, and then we just go look at the advanced affixes on the prefixes. So be like, I really want either dexterity or intelligence for this, and gear fizz. And on the suffix, oh well, I want both prefixes, so I don't really care about the suffixes. But if I did care about the suffixes, maybe like attack crit or crit strike rating or something, these would be like what I would want to go for. But you just kind of like do a little bit of scouting. You can see like what the tiers of mods and stuff are. So you can like go and do that in the future. And so the reason we do that is because it's more expensive to craft an advanced affix than it is to buy a normal one. And so what I'm going to go do is just set this to be like, hey, tier 2 here. I want all of these to be tier 2 so that if I buy this automatically, it already has some of the most expensive mods that I could potentially want on it. So tier 1 here. And then you can even add a third group here, which has like another mod that you might want on the weapon. I'm just going to turn this off for now. And then we can just search. And on here, we're just going to find everybody's thrown away weapons. These are all like old weapons. And a lot of people are moving off of tier 2 and onto tier 1 weapons at this point. And so you can just see a ton of these. Now, if we went and did this on swords, there'd be a lot more options. Daggers are kind of a little bit less, so I'll show that as well. So swords, there are just tons of these. And like you might have to look through this a little bit. If you want to directly purchase one of these, you probably could get one for like a little bit of a steal of a deal here, especially because like, some of these are going to cost a lot of embers to craft. So just smacking one off the auction house is pretty nice. But if you want to go and get one of these and craft it up for yourself, you probably want to remove the advanced mod thing because those are probably all purchased up. But we can just keep the sequence part. And then we can find ones like this, for example. That's a nice crafting base. I'm glad there was one FE one on the front page. There's a whole bunch of them here. So we just buy any of these, and these would be a nice base to craft on and just work our own weapon up with this. And it's just really kind of easy to do that. And then really you can just kind of go and do the same thing for tier 1. So we can go here, we can go and look at the mods. So it's 86 or above. So this is why we do 82 to 85, because we don't want ones that are tier 1. So we just gear up that way as well. We scout out the advanced affixes we want, see if we can get a deal where we can buy an item that has the advanced affix that we want. And yeah, that's pretty much how I gear up, especially in the early game. Note that only weapons and shields can have sequences, so don't try to look for like a belt that has a sequence. However, belts do have blends on them. So if we go down here to blends, you might, there's basically base affixes. These are all for tippity top and gear, but you might be like, I want channel. It says medium talent. So we have to search for talent here. And this shows you all of the different things that you potentially have on your belt. And so you might just want to look through here and try to find something that kind of works for you. Generally, like finding the ones that have like the different core talents, probably going to be a little difficult. I don't know if the search for all of these is going to work right now, but getting these belts, you pretty much have to go and get it from Sandlord. I have a video about Sandlord. But if you look for a belt that has, agility blessings, for example, this could be a really good crafting piece for you. And you just want to like set it up so you have the right item level as well. Like a lot of these are going to be lower item level. So you know that if we just go here, once again, we can see that if I want a tier 2 or above belt, we need to do 82 or above, 86 or above for a tier 1. And yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of going and getting yourself other stuff. Like I think people forget a lot of times about candles, and they think that they have to go and run a Terna in order to get candles, or a second candle at least. If you talk to Candel over here and click Psalms of Eterna, all you need to do is take this particular node to get the second candle slot, and this just costs 10 additional pages than what she gives you. So what I do is I go look for pages of Eterna on the auction house here. Let's go pages of, and right here, we can go and find these. We can see that these are pretty darn cheap right now. So all I have to do is go buy 10 of them, and I have a second candle slot just like that. Also, don't forget that you can go here and get yourself the statue of the new god stuff. And so getting like slates and stuff, I think right now pedigrees are a little bit bugged. It's kind of hard to find some of the stats. I don't know if they fixed that yet. You can also just go and look for legendary nodes in the top here that could potentially give you damage. And you can once again just go and use those tricks that I taught you about going and making the conditional group and just go and add all of the different things that you think are going to be really, really good. But a lot of times the best thing is just to go type additional here and see, hey, additional. So additional damage proximity, additional damage when having fervor. Just give me one of these and take this off. And hey, look, all of this stuff is going to give me additional damage, which is just, you know, really good to have. If I'm going to go and look for like Gods of Knowledge, for example, I can just go conditional group here, additional, and we can look like additional charge, consumes mana. Oh, they limited this to 1. That's a pretty good idea. Additional damage here. Yeah, so I could take something like that. Make sure you always set these to be like whatever your conditional group values you want it to be. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways to get damage this way. Hopefully this video helped you out. I'll be streaming live over on Twitch. If you have any questions, please come by. We did like a huge stream yesterday. So very excited to be back on the grind and farming some more. Hope you guys come by. We'll see you again soon. Later.